folks, MasakoX here. Caulifla, the poster Saiyan from Universe 6. She has definitely garnered herself a reputation for being quite tough, strong, and appealing. However, if you take her out of Universe 6 and swap her maybe with, say, Gohan, might she be just as unpredictable and chaotic? Well, that is definitely something to explore. And since she has an affinity with Goku in the original story, why not make her his daughter? That's why the April Fools are so cool. What ifs work so well for us in that environment. They mean we can be a little more crazy with things like this. In the last part, the preparations for the android invasion began in earnest, with the crew trying their best to figure out what Super Saiyan was specifically, and how to achieve said power. Trunks had given them a little bit of a push in the vaguely right direction, but in terms of actually getting this power, it was still proving to be quite the struggle. The group found solace in the form of Piccolo back on Yardrat, him providing the group, that's Goku, Caulifla, Raditz and Piccolo, and some others, some assistance in gaining the transformation, or at least giving themselves more of a handle of their own power. Piccolo also got to benefit from this by fusing with Nail and figuring more things out when he got to visit Namek in his own time, whilst the others were gaining Super Saiyan. It had brought him up again in terms of power with the Saiyans. He wasn't falling behind. Their fusion factor being more pronounced here, thanks to the fact that Piccolo had a greater base power to begin with, and Nail was fighting fit from the get-go. He wasn't battered to death by Frieza, and the fusion was done less haphazardly. The biggest anomaly started to come about when Piccolo probed Caulifla's mind some more deeply. He could sense that her aura was unlike anything he had ever felt before, like she was not from this universe or something, but from some other plane of reality. But since destroyers aren't yet known in this timeline, as well as the existence of other universes to mortals, it was beyond comprehension. This became even more obvious after a spell with Vegeta in the gravity chamber. He might have had a point. His grandstanding being the drive for Caulifla to actually get the Super Saiyan power, after having had enough of his jabbering and the sudden desire to stomp on her in 400 times gravity, the ultimate deceit, and then throw him back in his face, or more accurately, ankle. Let's resume and see where this goes, shall we? With both Vegeta and Caulifla on the floor, the gravity chamber turned itself off, allowing Bulma and Goku to rush in and tend to the pair of them. They both agreed that, really, Vegeta had no right in harming Caulifla and doing so in such a heinous fashion. But Bulma was also perturbed by the gal's outburst. She could have destroyed the entire building! What was she thinking? Goku pushed back though. Come on, Bulma! Vegeta's been on our case the entire time he's hung around us. It was gonna happen. Perhaps now I'll understand that it's better to not butt heads and work together. Bulma thought about this for a second, but was still adamant that Goku really needed to do something about her. But he had a point though. Vegeta was always talking about being troubled by that girl. Not exactly wanting to impress her, but it felt like that, in a way. When the pair of them came to, Goku had just got back with Sensu for them both. They were kept in separate rooms though, so as to not stoke the fire anymore, aggravate the situation any further. But instead of being remorseful, she felt pumped. I did it, Papa! I could be a Super Saiyan too! But Goku wasn't impressed. That may be, kiddo, but I've been thinking. The way you did it, that could have hurt a lot of people. Huh? Don't you remember exactly what happened? Well, not really. I remember Vegeta angering me and powering up and then nothing. Here, Goku pressed play on the TV remote, and it showed a feed from the chamber of the moment Caulifla turned Super Saiyan earlier, and her then breaking of Vegeta's ankle. She was screaming for a while, and then seconds later they both fell to the floor. The kid was not sorry though. Good. He deserved it. Goku wasn't expecting that reaction. Maybe Bulma was right. Aren't you in the least bit sorry? No. Vegeta's been a jerk ever since he got here. I had it up to here with him telling me what to do. He may be a prince, but he doesn't rule over me. Is this all about who you think is cool and who isn't? Really? Collie, you can't be that flippant. Didn't Tabari teach you anything? He did, exclaimed his daughter. But for the short stack, I'm not pulling my punches anymore. This'll make him even more determined to prepare for the androids. He should be thanking me. That's if he'll prepare for them and not blow us off now, countered Goku, looking increasingly concerned. If you can't control your emotions, Caulifla, I'm gonna have to bench you. You can't bench me! We need all the power we can get! I know, but how can I be sure that you won't pick any fights with Vegeta again? I promise, she said frantically, not wanting to be benched. I will do it again. Papa, I want to help save the world. Goku thought for a moment, weighing up whether or not she was telling the truth here and this wasn't desperation tactics. I'll think about it. For now, we better get back to Pibara and finish our training. There's still time. When they got back there, they met up with Piccolo and Raditz, who had remained behind. Because Caulifla wanted to just simply check out Vegeta, they didn't realize it would escalate that much. When they found out about what Caulifla did to the prince, Raditz had to control himself from guffawing right there, but composed himself. Maybe that wasn't the most conducive thing to do. Piccolo was also in agreement, leaving Caulifla feeling very on the periphery, isolated. But then again, she valued all three of them in her life. She did look up to them. And if they all weren't on board with her treatment of the prince, maybe she had gone about things incorrectly. She reiterated a promise to behave, and they spent the remaining time they had left before the androids arrived, fettling their powers. As for Vegeta, he was left a broken man. Not only had he yet to discover Super Saiyan, but he had been, once again, bested by the brat. At this point, he really didn't know what to do. The only thing he could think of was to get off this planet and figure out his next move. Without much warning, he took a ship with a chamber of gravity and flew off deep into space to get away from Caulifla, pushing his body to the limit. One thing was for sure, he had to keep trying to get this superpower. And he had to now learn from this too. That showboating like that will only get yourself in deeper trouble. His pride had been dented. Ooh, perhaps this might reap rewards, right folks? Make things easier further down the arc? May the 12th arrived, and the group were ready to go. Caulifla had been reminding her dad to take the next dose of heart medication before going, you know, the stuff that Trunks had provided him, and he reluctantly complied. Thinking that, this still wouldn't come about since it hadn't shown up yet. He'd been going along with this. I mean, it was supposed to have flared up months ago, according to Trunks, but it hadn't. Nevertheless, both his daughter and his wife were adamant in him taking it anyway, both of them backing each other up. So he'd been doing so for the last few weeks. Goku valued their concern, but if it had been up to him, he wouldn't have bothered. As the group arrived at Remember Island, Vegeta hadn't turned up. Bulma and Trunks were there though, Bulma debriefing everybody of what she had recently found out. I managed to do some digging about Dr. Giro's movement since the Red Ribbon Army collapsed. It's not a lot, but there's an area around North City that looks intriguing. I want to go and see if I can confirm it. Can one of you get me over there real quick? Goku volunteered Caulifla to go with her, she being very against this. But Papa, I promised, I want to fight with you. I know, kiddo, but Bulma needs protection. Besides, if we have any issues, you can get back lickety-split, okay? Just go and help her out. Caulifla looked annoyed by this, but it was true what he said. She could transmit back in case things went south. Okay, but promise me you'll take a swig of that medicine if your chest feels funny, alright? Goku promised. So with that, Caulifla told Bulma to touch her shoulder, and they vanished right there and then. The Dragon team looking nervous about this. Look guys, I know, it's taking a Super Saiyan away from the battlefield. But if Bulma's right about this, it can stop any nasty surprises. Raditz then piped up. Well, you also forget, Kakarot. We still have 2 Super Saiyans raring to go! But before they could talk any further, an explosion from down below in the city halted their exchanges, and they set down into said city to investigate. Them unable to sense any powers from down below, but hey, explosions aren't good. Meanwhile, Caulifla transmitted in with Bulma and Trunks to the mountain range of North City, the kid managing to lock onto a weird energy emanating from deep within said mountains. It was very, very faint, but since they were on the planet and it was suspicious upon further scrutiny, it was just about enough to get in the rough area. This being the embryonic cell, by the way, but they weren't aware of that yet. Bulma checked her data log and confirmed the lab wasn't far from here. Caulifla had done a good job. And within a couple of minutes of flying, they were at the front door of the lab. Naturally, Giro had put in some deterrence and security measures to deter potential intruders, but Caulifla was able to easily pick off these rockets and stuff like that, allowing Bulma to use her smarts to bypass the clearance codes in order to get in. When they entered through the small doors of the blast hatches, they started to look around and spotted some weird stuff, including some pods labeled 17 and 18. Bulma examining them closely. Numbers. Perhaps they're androids? Related to Ader? Ader? Said Caulifla. Yeah, he was another android made by the Red Ribbon Army. But he's a nice one. He's our friend. Perhaps the naming scheme carried on from there. So what are we gonna do with them? Destroy them? Said Caulifla. I don't know. Let me think, said Bulma. Caulifla, though, was in no mood to think. Well, maybe if Ader was a good person, we can talk to them. Tell them not to hurt anyone. What? Exclaimed the engineer. From what Trunks told Papa, they rebelled against Jiro and killed him. To me, that sounds like a couple of droids that don't listen well to authority. For those who try and tell them what to do, they sound like they taught my language. Caulifla, that's very risky. What makes you so sure they'll listen to you? I'm not some old kook. If you're wrong about this and they attack, you better get us out of here, you got that? Bulma motioned her to stand in front of her as she pressed the buttons to activate the pods. Seconds later, the pods moved upwards and their doors opened. 2 people walked out of them. But they looked like teenagers. 1 boy and 1 girl. The boy who came out of the pod marked 17 looked to Bulma and Caulifla, the ones that had woken them up, confusedly so. Huh? You ain't the old kook. What's going on? The blonde girl from the pod marked 18 echoed her brother's sentiments. You definitely don't look like an old man. What's your story? They weren't attacking. Yet. Which was a good sign. Caulifla gingerly approached them. Hey there. Is it good to be out of those things, huh? She gestured to the pods. 17 looked back to them and shrugged. I guess. It's better than being locked away in it because your maker got angry. I guess I should be thanking you for that. Yeah, said Caulifla. That's your old guy, eh? What an old fart. I mean, he can't tell you what to do, am I right? 18 chuckled. Right. We do what we want. And what we want to do is find that Goku guy you told us about. Caulifla flinched, 17 spotting it. Oh? You know him, brat? Uh-oh. Bulma was desperately trying to get the girl's attention for them to get over here, but the gal held firm, her proud of her dad. Yeah, he's my papa. Oh, the boy droid cooed. You're his kid? Neat. Then you could perhaps tell us where he is like a good little girl. Go back a step. Finding my dad. Why do you wanna? 'Cause, I don't know, you feel like it? But that's Jiro's desire, don't you see? Not yours. You say you want to be your own boss, but that doesn't sound like following your own destiny to me. 17 blinked, thinking for a moment. You know what? You got a point there, bucko. 18 chimed in. Wow. How old are you, kid? Millie 10, Caulifla said proudly. We got schooled by a grade schooler. Caulifla did her best not to be insulted. She was getting on the right track. Right. So come on. Don't be swayed by that geezer. That ain't cool. 17 reacted. Hey, we're cool. We do what we want. The girl smirked. Victory. You're all right, as long as you play by your own rules. I've not got many friends outside of my wheelhouse, and you know what? I like your style. But then Caulifla was distracted when she felt powers in the distance coming their way, and her father's power faltering somewhat, but still there. It seemed like the heart virus had struck, but he must have taken that last dose. He kept his promise, meaning he was gonna live. What's the matter, Squirt? You chicken? Don't tell me you've gone all shy now, said 18. No, I'm fine. But you don't have to do what the doctor says. Follow your own destiny. Bulma can help you there. What? Bulma flinched, but realized that Caulifla was actually getting somewhere. Yes, I can remove any impulses that go against your wishes. Make you free. I'm an even better scientist than that Jiro guy. Free? Well, it does sound kind of sweet. This ain't a trick, is it? You ain't working for the old-timer and trying to test us or something, right? No way, said Caulifla. You seem on the level, and I dig your attitude in being your own person. I can relate. However, before the loving could go any further, the blast door to the lab burst open and in came, wouldn't you know it, Dr. Jiro, without his hat. But he didn't expect to be seeing guests.
What is the meaning of this? Who woke you up? Dr. Bulma! What are you doing here?
Bulma regained her composure in the face of an inferior scientist and lorded it over the old-timer. Please, you call that a security system? I was able to bypass it in no time. You really need to be more careful. Anybody could waltz in here.
But the rockets! How did you manage to...
Oh, that was me. Caulifla put her hand up with gusto. 17 and 18 laughed. Wow, you really suck, old man.
Enough of this! 17, 18, Get rid of these imbeciles fast!
17 gave him the glare. We ain't gonna do that. We don't have to listen to you.
What? How dare you? Any more of that chatter and I'll...
18 rushed him and grabbed him by the arm, which held a device. Or what? You'll use this thing on us? Not cool. Yeah, very uncool, sputtered Caulifla. Then, the rest of the dragon team stormed in, including Goku and Vegeta, who kept his distance, and Goku looking tired and in no condition to fight, but was still around. Caulifla lit up. Papa! Jiro then turned around to tell Goku.
There! There is Son Goku! Eliminate him!
18 shook her head. Nah, we're good.
Good!
Exclaimed the doctor.
What do you mean?
I mean, we're good. We don't feel like doing it right now. What we do feel like doing, though, is shutting you up. We're tired of listening to you whine and moan. What do you say, bro? Should we waste him?
Yeah. Trunks was just floored. What was going on here?
The ones that attacked his timeline in the future. They were helping them? He wanted to blast them right away, there and then on first sight, but Piccolo and Raditz had told him prior to this to wait, since Caulifla and Bulma were most likely inside the laboratory, and that they could get hurt. They had good reason. Within seconds, 17 and 18 had indeed wasted the doctor, knocking his head off and crushing it underfoot. Caulifla then spotted Trunks looking at her and she blushed. She had done something good and proved to her father she could be trusted to do the job. Thanks to her unorthodox social skills, it had once again saved the day. Raditz and Piccolo turning to Goku. You see, Kakarot? She does have her uses. Now as for 17 and 18, they asked Bulma what she could do to try and get their minds off of killing people, so that they could lead a normal life the way they wanted to. I'll have to do some work on you first, but I promise you, you'll be fine. I won't turn you off either. Unlike the doctor, I have more elegant ways of doing the same thing. The twins were apprehensive, but they complied. 17 then turned to Goku. You got yourself a good egg there, Goku. She's alright. Goku smiled. Yeah, she's a little wild, but she's got her moments. He ruffled her hair and patted her head. However, as this was going on, Piccolo was contacted by Kami to report to the lookout at once. The Namekian excused himself and reported there, to find out the news about another threat. Cell. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this idea where Goku and Caulifla got to train together, check out the story here where Goku and Gohan did the same thing. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!